Do you ever speak with clients whose depersonalization realization was induced by something other than drugs or panic? The short answer is yes, but I want to give some context for that. So mainly what I'm working with are people that have a very painful history. And it's not so much about a singular situation. It's more about their nervous system has been dysregulated for a long time. And eventually, yes, there was a tipping point. There was a situation that caused their nervous system to reach that point of overwhelm, which is what induces depersonalization realization. But it's not just that one situation. Like, for example, one could say that I experienced drug-induced depersonalization realization because initially back in 2008, it came on because of a bad marijuana experience. But now that I understand complex trauma, it's not drug-induced depersonalization realization. Yeah, that was the tipping point. That was the drop of water, that caused the cup of water to overflow, using that analogy. That was the straw that broke the camel's back. But I had a very, very, very painful history before then, and my body was already very stressed out. There were a lot of triggers that I had. I suppressed my emotions. I lived in my head all day, and my body was a war zone, and I lived basically my whole life trying to separate from my body, and played video games all the time, obsessed over existence, obsessed over people's opinions of me, lived in the past or the future, daydream. That was me dissociating, but I didn't reach that overwhelm point until I had the bad marijuana experience and I felt trapped, like I couldn't escape. And then that's whenever I went from fight or flight response into the freeze response, which is also called the trauma response, and my brain started to produce depersonalization realization. But to say that it was drug-induced, it's like, yes, it is technically true that was the straw that broke the camel's back, but it's not so much about the bad drug experience as much as it is that my body was already a war zone. And if it wasn't a bad drug experience, it could have been a number of things. I could have got fired from a job. I could have gone through a breakup. I could have had a really bad night's sleep. It could have been alcohol. It could have been, 10,000 things that could have caused my nervous system to hit that point of overwhelm. Think about if you're walking around with a glass of water and it's like filled up to there. It doesn't matter. It's like, let's say you're at like a 8 out of 10 stress. All you need is a level 2 stressor to get you to a 10 and to cause the cup to overflow, to cause you to enter a state of traumatic stress. So that's something to consider. Now, I do work with clients that had a completely calm history and then they had a sudden overwhelming situation. That's a major trauma, but usually it's complex trauma.